Food Professor Podcast, an Apple Top 10 Business Management Podcast in Canada. I'm Michael LeBlanc.
And I'm the Food Professor, Sylvain Charlebois.
Our special guests, with a plural, this week. From last week's, we were talking about sugar in your coffee. This week, we're talking about the coffee. Axel Schwan, President, Tim Hortons Canada and U.S., and Duncan Fulton, Chief Corporate Officer, Restaurants Brand Inc., RBI. In a wide-ranging interview, we talk about their approach to defend and grow their market share, their approach to product innovation, operations, marketing, their public image, hope for their brands here in Canada, and a bunch of other stuff. In the news, we talk about Sobeys and antitrust, Ottawa's AI strategy and ag, and now, are we truly and really screwed when it comes to the cost of beef? And we'll get to that a bit later. Now, Sylvain, you poked Tim's in the eye over the weekend with a sharp stick a couple of times with various announcements. Were you enlightened by the conversation with Axel and Duncan? Did you? First of all, you must have some respect that they came on and were willing to come on the podcast and talk with us, right?
I have a lot of respect for Tim Hortons, and I have a lot of respect for both Alex and Duncan, to be honest. And we did commit to ask tough questions, and they showed up. Showed up. Yep. So kudos to them. And frankly, I mean, Tim Hortons is the leading company in the coffee shop world in Canada. It is an institution. And I know out there a lot of people feel betrayed. They're questioning their strategy. They're wondering what's going on.
People are very passionate, right? They're the word's betrayed. You don't hear betrayed from a lot of retailers when you think about it. You just go somewhere else.
I mean, just this week, I've received three emails of people wanting to write op-eds about our episode this week, interviewing Tim Hortons. So this is really up there in terms of passion for sure.
Well, anyway, we'll get to that now. News. This is going to be a bit of a longer episode because we had two executives on, so it's a longer interview. It's like 40 minutes, 40. So we're going to be a little shorter on the news. And a note to the listener, and I'll remind you later, is at the beginning you were traveling, your sound was really bad, so you'll hear a lot of me at the beginning, as if you're not there, but you were moving to a better place. So. If everybody's wondering why it sounds initially like a solo interview.
Yeah, that's right.
Why. But eventually you came in and you fixed your sound and it all turned out great.
Yep.
All right, well, let's get into the news. Sobeys gets served. So talk about the latest development. This is a long-running Competition Act claims against various grocers mostly, but not singularly. So what's your observation?
Yeah, it's a problem. I think property controls are a problem. I've said that to many provinces. I've said that to reporters. There's one thing that provinces can do to increase competition in Canada is to look into property controls. They're hard to prove. They're hard to look into. Sometimes these deals are not even written. It's not about leases, but it's about gentlemen agreements in different towns. And so provinces have to work with municipal councils to look into property controls. But to be fair to Sobeys is not alone here. I think all of them do that to a certain extent. But I'm happy that it's out there, and I'm happy that the Competition Bureau is finally looking into this, officially at least, and we'll see where things go.
Now, the rules on this, was this added to the Competition Act recently by Minister Champagne? Have I got that right? The Liberals added
that's right.
This?
Absolutely.
Right.
So for the first time, I would say that the Competition Bureau is using new powers that was given to it in order to look into some of these issues like property controls. So it's certainly good news, I think, for consumers.
Let's talk about something else for consumers. Ottawa came out with their AI strategy. Published their strategy. I've got my thoughts on the strategy, but let's take it from the lens, your thoughts on the AI strategy and agriculture.
Yeah, so first of all, AI has been around in agriculture for a while, so it's not new. And of course, in farming, farmers have actually been using AI for a while. They're, of course, enhancing their use of AI. I would say in retail as well, processing is still a work in progress, but we're starting to see more and more forecasting, more and more work in AI space, just basically with more automation and robotics. Of course, you want to optimize the entire supply chain, your procurement. When you buy buy, what you buy at certain prices. I mean, let's face it, the agri-food space is all about pennies. You make money by managing pennies. And if you do that, well, if you do it well, you'll make money. And of course, with AI, you can do it very, very well. So overall, good strategy. But the problem remains, we have a data deficit in Canada. We use AI as a lab here at Dalhousie University. And we know that if you don't have good data to work with, it's hard to model anything. It's hard to forecast anything. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's a great point because all AI does is get you to the wrong place faster if you don't have the right data.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, and it is very much the case: garbage in, garbage out, and it's actually worse with AI because it sounds so authentic. It's so obsequious and so authoritative, right?
Yeah.
Reminding it that it's missing a piece of data. You're absolutely right, Sylvain. We entirely dropped the ball there. You'd see these crazy responses from these AI models. And the other thing that struck me, and it's kind of beyond the scope of the podcast, but it was very much what Canada and how Canada is going to build and develop and own a share and data sovereignty. What I was looking more for is how they're going to protect Canadians. So I didn't see anything about Humbler Ridge come up that these AI platforms need to be more responsible for what they're doing. So I was looking for that because I think that's what a lot of Canadians are more worried about, frankly, that are we going to be safe? Is this thing going to hurt us?
That's a good point, actually. Yeah.
I think it's great to have a strategy. The minister's out and talking about it, and I think he'll need to address people.
I just thought it wasn't bold enough, to be honest. I think it was a good idea to actually look into it and bring structure to AI from a government perspective. But I think a lot of people were kind of looking for more a little bit, and I was one of them.
Well, it's interesting because the U.S. government, of course, many of these companies are domiciled in America. The U.S. government passed their AI legislation. I wasn't sure that was going to pass, but it did pass, and they have given, they are mandated to give the government their models, I think now 30 days before they release them, so the government can assess risk. And, it was interesting, went back and forth a little bit. I kind of think of AI a little bit like nuclear energy. It is a tremendously destructive, evil thing. And it's a tremendously powerful thing that can power our homes and is very good. Yep. And you don't see nuclear energy without any kind of guardrails or passed out to the private sector. So I applaud the U.S. government for passing that legislation. And it's a small little speed bump, and I think it's a good thing to do. It's kind of
funny. This week, of course, I was talking to about I think 300 people in the healthcare sector in the great state of Delaware in the United States, and I did ask the question, "How do you feel about AI overall?" And I have to tell you, I mean, at least 2/3 of the room felt uneasy about AI. They don't understand it quite well. They feel it's a threat to them, to their jobs, to everything they do. So there's a lot to learn about AI for sure as companies look into using more AI to enhance some of the things that they're doing.
Well, let's move on. So I talked about are we now screwed with beef prices? So ironically, I mentioned this a couple of episodes, this screwworm fly or something. I don't know. I don't even remember the context. Oh, the context was just talking about Dutton farms and, how they're close to Mexico and all this stuff. And sure enough, a couple of cows, like not a herd and not a lot, but have got this thing, which is back. As I understand in Texas. So I understand it was eliminated, like I think back in the 50s and 60s. And now it's back, came in from Mexico. Now it's not in, you made the point, which was we don't have to worry about the processed beef. What we have to worry about is the herd size, and it's just more pressure, much more pressure. Yeah. More pressure on the industry, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I was, so first of all, I wasn't surprised by the news coming out of the Canadian Food Inspection Agency looking into that one case. So just to be clear, the screwworm is not a worm. It's actually a fly. It's a larva, basically. It's a flesh-eating larva. Not good news for cattle ranchers. So this is a biosecurity issue. It has nothing to do with food safety. But still, you want to protect your herd in Canada. What was really interesting, I thought, like 20 years ago, you would have seen Canada basically shoot an embargo on the United States of America. It's similar to the U.S. towards Canada with mad cow, for example. But now they're more pointed, more strategic. So they basically said to the U.S., you know what? Anything that comes from Texas, we're not touching. We're not buying anything that actually comes from Texas. Because people may say, well, Texas is a long way from Canada. We're not buying anything from Texas. But a lot of animals transit through the United States closer to the border, and they do get over the border eventually. So with traceability, you'll know whether or not an animal actually went through Texas. And so they're being very targeted and very careful, which is certainly good news. The problem, of course, is price. So as soon as you put some barriers on the supply side of the equation, obviously, you expect prices to go up. And so we saw actually after the news that came from the CFIA earlier this week, you saw again cattle futures go up, unfortunately, and that's going to impact prices over the next several weeks. And that's going to inflate already high beef prices for all of us.
Well, yeah, they can't really seem to catch a break, but I didn't appreciate the kind of the very focused.
Well, cattle farmers are going to be happy; they'll make more money, but we're not going to be happy. I mean, as consumers, we're going to be paying for it.
Do you think this is going to be more impetus or less or neutral to this whole bringing in beef into Canada from, what is it, the Mercure nation?
Mercosur, yeah.
Mercosur, right.
I think it's still in the works. I'm expecting an announcement, to be honest. And I do think that this is going to be helpful for consumers. I suspect the other thing that I'm expecting is less Mexican beef into Canada, because even though it is not a food safety issue, grocers may be concerned. Okay, people may see Mexican, they may walk away. So grocers will be looking for options, Australian beef, New Zealand beef. And of course, if there is a deal signed coming from South America for Brazil, Argentina, Bolivia, or Uruguay, we're expecting more beef coming from that area, which will put pressure on beef prices for sure, even Canadian beef. So I think everyone should hope that there is a bit of a deal. The problem, of course, that ranchers in Canada are a little upset because they're dealing with competition, but competition that comes from a different place from a regulatory perspective. Environmental standards are very different. The way you feed your livestock, and of course, veterinary practices are very different too. So we're not dealing with a level playing field, which is unfair to our cattle ranchers.
Well, and that's the position. I don't want to not relitigate it, but just we've talked about it a few times. My position is, you got to take care of our own. We got to take, level the playing field, right? Don't bring in inexpensive meat from these countries because they.
That's how I feel too.
Don't tie one hoof behind the arms or something for our Canadian farmers.
No pun.
No pun intended there. Last, just before we get to our interview with the folks from Tim Hortons, you were on the road. You mentioned you were in Delaware. What were you doing there? What were you talking about?
Yeah, I was actually invited by the Delaware Healthcare Coalition. What a group of people. I mean, Delaware, I have to remind folks that Delaware is about the size of Nova Scotia. That has about 1 million people. So it's
not
very
a big
small.
State. Not a big state.
But they're looking for change. The problem that they're facing is, from a healthcare perspective, is that because of COVID, they saw huge numbers of people selling off their houses in New York, New Jersey, because it got too expensive, and they went to Delaware and retire. So all these people have a lot of money, but they're old. They're seniors. They're going to get sick at some point. And so they're concerned that they're not ready. But this is, Michael, I got to tell you, I spent 2 days with them talking about how to make a private sector led it's privately funded. It's the private sector. How do you actually make hospitals and clinics better? It was so refreshing. It was so weird for me because everything is publicly funded. But anyways, I was there to talk about food is medicine. And I got to tell you, Michael, Maha was everywhere. The Make America Healthy Again movement was all over the place. And so all of these people were in Washington last week for a major federal convention, And now Delaware had its own, and I was there. I was the keynote for that event. It was just great. But at the break, of course, and I started to talk about to a lot of people about food security and food affordability, and told them, well, you grow a lot of chicken, you produce a lot of chicken, you produce a lot of beans, but what else? But I said, well, we can't grow anything else because these data centers are being built all over the place. What do you mean?
Oh, interesting.
I mean, the numbers I got. Right now in America, there are 809 data centers being built to support AI, and there are an extra 1,500 in the works. So if you take all of these data centers being built, not the ones that they already have, the data centers being built, they would cover anywhere between 280 to 530 square miles. That's 4 times the size of New York City. Yeah.
Well, it's another element of AI that is not spoken of enough, and that's the horsepower, the energy, and the costs of all these data centers. So
a state like Delaware is very concerned about that space. I mean, because farmers are, if they want out, they can sell to whatever company and they get their money, but that farmland is being sacrificed. And of course, I have nothing against data centers being built. It's just the problem is that sometimes they're being built on really fertile soil. Like the city of Montreal was built on the most fertile soil in the entire province of Quebec, and they regret it now. So we need to be a little bit more strategic about farmland usage and farmland management. But I honestly, I underappreciated the size of these centers and how much space you need. And will we need that space in 10 years from now? That's the thing. I mean, are we going to be over capacity here or what?
Let's get to let's take a break. We're back with a little more news, not too much. Reminder to the listeners, you are there for the whole interview, though at the very beginning, I go on for a little bit while you were getting your sound set up. So anyway, without further ado, and there's been much ado, let's hear from Axel and Duncan. Well, Axel and Duncan, welcome to the Food Professor podcast. Axel, how are you doing this morning?
Very good, and thank you very much for having us here today.
It's our pleasure. Axel, where are we finding you today?
So I am here in our head office for Tim Hortons in Toronto, Ontario. It's a beautiful day, so I'm very happy to speak to you.
Excellent. Duncan, welcome. You and I have talked many, many times. You and I have known each other for quite a while. Where are we finding you today?
I'm in Bieber, Nova Scotia. We have a distribution center here, and we're actually doing a board meeting of our Tim Hortons Children's Foundation at the camp in Tatamagouche in Nova Scotia tomorrow. So on my way to the camp, I thought I'd stop in to find some good Wi-Fi at our distribution center in Bieber.
Excellent. Now, I have a fun factoid for both you gentlemen that you probably don't know about me, and it relates to Tim Hortons. I, in my past life, was the product manager at a cup company and helped invent Roll Up the Rim. There's a fun factoid for you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was at Dixie Cup. If you remember, I don't know if you remember them in the time tunnel, probably earlier than both of you, but your head of marketing came. We had this idea to put a contest under rims, and we said, I think we can do it. And at one point, I actually had the winning cups in my office and then went and actually seated them in the warehouse in that process. So my fun factoid connection to what an incredible campaign that became Roll Up the Rim. So there you go.
That's very cool.
Let's talk a bit about your backgrounds, and we're going to ask you some, questions just about who you are and what you do for a living, and then kind of lay some foundation and some facts about RBI and Tim Hortons. So, Axel, you first. A little bit about your background and what you do for a living.
Yeah, happy to share. So I'm 52 years old, originally grew up in Germany in a family that runs restaurants. So since I'm 12 years old, my parents are running restaurants in Germany, and I just fell in love with this industry back then. So I guess I can say for the majority of my life, I've been in this industry, and now living and working here in Canada and working for Tim Hortons is like a dream come true. And I'm not saying this lightly. My family and I, we moved here, call it 9 years ago. We have 2 children. Our daughter is 13. Our son is turning 12 in a week. And it really became home. Canada is a wonderful country. We are Canadian citizens. and we don't want to be anywhere else. So it's a wonderful country to be in and to live. And so working for Tim's is something very special, because I genuinely can say I've never seen or heard about a brand like Tim Hortons before. It's something so special and so close to the hearts of Canadians that I'm very proud and humbled and honored to lead this brand here in Canada.
It's a big responsibility, right? Because it's not just a restaurant or a business. I mean, it's a part of the culture, and that comes with it's kind of freighted with a responsibility, right? Did you appreciate that when you got that first call to meet about Tim Hortons?
So I did know the brand historically, of course, from looking at the industry, and it has a great reputation in general, but it really was important to move here to Canada. We moved here for good in 2018, beginning of 2018. And you really understand Tim's only when you visit Tim's over and over and over again. So it is very natural, of course, for Canadians to grow up with this brand. And I certainly did the same thing, visiting Tim's, and not only in urban markets, but really experiencing the brand in rural markets. And then you start to appreciate the brand very, very quickly. It's way more than selling coffee and donuts. It is part of the Canadian identity. And Tim's is a reflection of Canadian values. And I'm very proud to be part of this wonderful family, because at the end of the day, our 1,500 franchisees that opened these restaurants, that run these restaurants, in many cases for decades, that is really the heart of our brand. Our owners sharing their stories and offering their service to their respective communities. That is really what made this brand what it is. It grew community by community, owner by owner, taking good care of the communities.
Duncan, you've got a varied background. You've got politics in your background. You've got operations, and then you moved into the restaurant business. Have I got that right? And how do you describe your progression as a business leader and a community leader?
It's been a fun one. I grew up on the East Coast in New Brunswick. Family farmhouse still there. It's where my mother lives. My sister's in Dopetown. I went to UNB and then started working for Frank McKenna while I was in school. Probably spent more time in Frank's office than I did in class. So over the course of 8 or 9 years, worked for a few different politicians. Then went into consulting for 5 or 6 years. Because when you do politics and government right out of school, you're not in the real world yet. And what was great to get into consulting is so many different clients that you just kind of learn a bunch of different industries. Then I got recruited to go to Canadian Tire, spent 9 years at Canadian Tire. I was part of the acquisition team that bought the Fresenius Group, which is Sport Chek. Moved out west to run Sport Chek, and then met the folks at RBI and Tim Hortons, and I've now been with Tim's for 8 years.
Now, let's talk about, we don't want to spend too much time on just the facts. We got so much interesting things to talk about, but it's useful for people to kind of understand the foundation, the listeners. Sometimes you lose track of these things, the scope, scale, a little bit of the business model. Actually, you mentioned franchisee driven. RBI first, the house, and then Tim Hortons specifically, numbers and scope and where you operate. Just, not spend too much time on it, but just the facts. So everybody's kind of grounded in a foundation of knowledge.
Yeah. So Tim's, I think everyone knows the history of Tim's going back to 1964, founded by Tim Hortons, the hockey player. The foundation of Tim's is obviously what Axel was talking about. We've got 1,500 Canadian restaurant owners who own those 4,000 restaurants across the country. It's their money that they spend. The company kicks in a bit as well, but it's predominantly their money to build the restaurants, to renovate the restaurants. They are the employer in the restaurants. Each restaurant has about 30 people in there, so it's a pretty big responsibility to make a payroll every week for 30 people. So then go back to end of 2014. Tim Hortons and Burger King come together to form one of the world's largest restaurant companies. That is where the foundation of Restaurant Brands International started. And then since then, RBI also acquired Popeyes and also Firehouse Subs. Mm-hmm. But for Tim's, it's always been Canadian. The headquarters is in Toronto, exactly where Axel's sitting today. We've got 600 Canadians that come to work every day in downtown Toronto. We own our distribution centers across the country. That was a $100 million plus investment back in 2018, 2019. The coffee roastery is in Ancaster. Pretty substantial Canadian investments.
Now, how many cups? Here's a random question for you. Again, just an idea of scale. I mean, how many cups of coffee do you guys serve up in a day, ballpark? Like, it just, I can't even imagine. Well, I can imagine because I used to help make the cups. But give people a sense of how many cups of coffee you serve in a given day.
So we are serving millions of cups every day. So maybe to put it into perspective, we have 4 million guests on average every single day.
Wow.
In our restaurants, and so that's a big number. So we are selling millions of coffees, and it became Canada's favorite coffee. So over time, it became Canada's favorite coffee, and we're very proud of. Also, the team that is behind this coffee that we serve here, because it's a magical formula. And our teammate Kevin West, he is the head of coffee operations. He's with Tim Hortons for 28 years and taking good care of our coffee here. So he is one of 3 people that knows the actual blend, the recipe for our coffee. And it became this iconic taste that the Canadians enjoy. Of course, we also have a dark roast, we have espresso, we have cold beverages, and maybe we're going to talk about some of those things in the podcast. But it's really the team behind it. And when you look at our owners, right, we have, like I mentioned, 1,500 owners, and it's rooted all in communities. So we are giving back so our owners actually raise 50 million plus every year to give back to the community through different programs, Smile Cookie, Camp Day, and these are programs that were invented by owners many years ago. And so, rooted in communities, we are a reflection of Canadian values. We deeply believe in community spirit, diversity, inclusion, and really serving. Maybe that also comes from a little bit my background, why I connect, why I enjoy so much working for Tim's. I like serving people. I really enjoy helping to put a smile on people's faces when they go to Tim's restaurant, and that's what we strive for. The whole Tim's family, meaning our owners and the corporate team. And we don't always get it right, but then I also learned from my parents early on that feedback is a gift. And when we get feedback, then we want to act as fast as we can to improve things. Because going back to what I said, we really want to make people happy. Oftentimes, we are the first connection that guests have in any given day with another human. And we take that responsibility very seriously. Most of our business is done, or the majority of our business is done in the morning between 5 and 11 a.m. And so we are oftentimes the first point of contact, and we want to send people off to into a good day. So.
Well, this is my last question. I'm going to pass the mic to Sylvain. A reminder to the listeners, Sylvain's being a little more quiet because he's in a bit of a noisy place. So he's still there. You're still there, right, Sylvain? Just before I pass the mic to you, we still have you?
Yes, I am here in a quieter place. So,
all right. Actually, you bring up an interesting point about the different types of coffee. And this is my segue into a question about asking about a broad canopy of competition. I remember in my time at Dixie Cup, we showed you guys a hooded lid, like a raised lid. And they said, we don't need that. We'll never be in a cappuccino. We're always going to be the same. We can't even see a future that has. Of course, these things change. I want to talk about how you think about customer segmentation and how you think about the competitive landscape. I mean, there's lots of people who want to get into the coffee business. You've got very big players, global players. You've got all the way to specialty players. When you can't win them all, and you can't own every single conversation or every single segment, convenience versus third place, the format. When you sit down and try to craft a strategy, you and Duncan and the team, what does strategic planning look like at your level?
Oh yeah, super. That's a very good, if I may say, very good question. So happy to go a little bit into it. So Let's go back in the time tunnel to 2019, when my team and I got into our roles. We did the biggest piece of research that we ever did in the history of Tim Hortons to understand from Canadians what are we doing well and where do we have opportunities and what should we do more of, what should we do less of. And that was in simple terms what we asked. And what we learned is that people really had a lot of heart for the brand, or have a lot of heart for the brand, but we fell short in some areas of execution. So our food quality was not in some areas where it needed to be, and we took that feedback very, very seriously. So that was what formed our Back to Basics plan. That was our big first strategic plan that we built. We talked about this then also publicly as of, I think it was February 2020. And really making sure that the core products that Canadians generally love us for are best in class. So we are really going to work to win and to offer the best product experience, the best guest experience overall. And we didn't live up to that. And so I give you a couple of examples. We had an egg patty. It was a frozen egg patty in our breakfast sandwiches that had a lot of ingredients in it besides an egg. And so we felt, and Canadians clearly told us, yeah, it's a decent sandwich, but it's not the best. And so we went to work and designed a wonderful new sandwich. So we improved our English muffin, and we just have an egg now in our sandwiches. It's a freshly cracked egg. We brought in new egg cookers into all of our restaurants, and it's a much, much better sandwich experience than what we offered before. So that's just one example. We have new brewing technology in our restaurants. We have water filtration in all of our restaurants. We have a brewer called the Fresh Brewer that makes a fresh, beautifully tasting cup of coffee. And sometimes we don't get it right, and then of course we take the feedback and fix it. But overall, the coffee experience is better. The breakfast sandwich experience is better. And speaking about another core platform, obviously, of ours is donuts. So we now, I think it was in 2021, 22, when we started improving some of our classics. So the apple fritter has now 40% more apples in it than it had before. We have our Boston cream, which is my personal favorite, but doesn't matter. So the Venetian cream is now, we have 30, I call it 1/3 more Venetian cream in our Boston cream since that time. So we really took the feedback to heart to be at the highest level of execution for the products that Canadians know us for. That was very, very important. It took a couple of years to execute all of this and to deliver this experience together with our owners to our guests. And the most important, I guess, step in building any strategic plan is to ask the guest. The guest is the boss. We all have the same boss here. It's our guests, and understanding upside down as much as we can what they really desire. That is always the starting point, and maybe that was the Back to Basics plan that we started this all with.
Well, again, thank you both for joining us today. I do want to revisit some of the press releases you've sent out in recent weeks. You've sent a lot of them. You got busy all of a sudden announcing new stores, renovating 400 stores. You've committed to hiring more Canadians, and if you watch TV in Canada, you would have noticed that Tim Hortons is out there hiring Canadians way more aggressively than before. So my question to either you, Axel, Duncan, or both, why now?
I think, Sylvain, a couple of things. If you just go on and look at the number of announcements Tim Hortons makes over a year, it's a lot. So I don't think there's been any more activity recently than usual. There were two recent things. And look, I've heard you honestly and others kind of say it's in reaction to Duncan, and it's not. I'll tell you why. The hiring campaign, our owners are always hiring local. It's an ongoing thing. There's 110,000 team members, part-time, full-time. In part-time roles, there's more turnover. So there's an ongoing hiring campaign. The ads that you started seeing a week ago, the ads were shot months ago. The media was bought months ago. So that's just part of it, like an ongoing campaign that our owners have locally, and that we also want to bring some national attention to. On the new restaurants, same thing, right? We announced that we're renovating 400 restaurants this year, building another 80 new ones. 12 of those are already done for the new ones. About another 50 are already under construction. I've heard the notion that was a reaction to something. The restaurants that are under construction today have been in the works for 2 years. You have to find the land, you have to get the contractors, you have to get the permits. So we actually run on a 3-year rolling schedule. So really what the teams are looking at today is, what restaurants will be renovated and new in 2 to 3 years from now. The ones that we announced for this year, there's just a lot of interest at a community level, and you hear there's a new restaurant coming to your community, you want to know if it's on your way to work. If you hear restaurants being renovated, a lot of people are hoping it's in their neighborhood. So those were 2 announcements that we put out, and just again based on the long-term nature of them, really had nothing to do with anything other than just catching people up in what's going on.
I know that, Duncan, you've been on my X feed because you did comment openly about some of the comments, because I was basically informing my followers that you were going to be on our show this week, and you saw, Duncan, the reaction to the Canadian hiring. It seems to strike a chord. It seems to be a very sensitive issue with Canadians, at least with my followers. The one thing that I'm hearing a lot from people is that, well, yes, Tim Hortons can want to hire more Canadians, but it's really up to franchisees. Really, it's up to them to hire who they want. How do you respond to that?
Well, I mean, ultimately that's true. We have 1,500 restaurant owners. They are each their own employer. If you go work in a restaurant, you don't work for Tim Hortons, the corporation. You work for a franchisee. I'll tell you, our Tim Hortons franchisees in Canada are one of the largest employers of Canadians in the country, hands down. That's been the case for years. It's the case today when you look at the 110,000 folks that are there. I know that the attention is on the temporary foreign worker program. And you can see on the government's own website, when you look it up, to the best of our knowledge, about 4,000 of the 110,000 team members in restaurants are part of that program. Like the very, very, very large majority of everyone in the restaurants are hired locally. And again, our restaurants are one of the biggest employers of Canadians in the country.
Mm-hmm. So I guess going back to the Dunkin Donut announcement. So to be clear, the Dunkin Donut announcement coming back to Canada has nothing to do with your recent announcements, correct?
Yes, and I can genuinely, maybe just genuinely, there's no reaction at all to our new competitor coming here. Absolutely zero. And because we, like Duncan was just sharing, we've been working on these announcements for quite a while. We have also worked on the labor campaign, hiring campaign for quite a while. We have long lead times to build new restaurants. And we felt it's important to talk about these things independent of any new competitor coming here to the market. We respect our competitors, the existing ones, the new ones. Competition at the end of the day makes everybody better. So, and we study our competition also very, very carefully, just like we study our guests and to understand what they really want from us, to just be able to provide our guests with the best possible service and offerings that we can. So there's no reaction at all. And yeah, it's I understand that people in the news, when they see it, they perceive it that way because the timing is. I totally understand that, but I can say for all of us, there was never a reaction here.
One last question before I throw it back to Michael. One thing that a lot of people have been mentioning about Tim Hortons is your inability or your challenge in attracting younger consumers, which may have been one of the reasons why people feel that Dunkin may have a chance in making a dent here. So do you feel that you're having a hard time attracting younger consumers? And if so, what are you trying to do to get them back?
Yeah, that's also a very good question. So I think it was in 2020 when we studied very carefully how can we be even more attractive for our young guests. So we have been super relevant for young guests, of course, with Timbits, with donuts. We have hot chocolate. We have wonderful products for our younger guests. Having said that, we didn't have cool cold beverages. And so we have those now with our quenchers. Our quencher platform is a very, very important platform that is very relevant for the teenagers. So my daughter, for example, also loves them quite a bit with her friends. And it's about the taste experience. It's about the color experience. It's different ingredients in these beverages. So I believe over the last years we made a big step forward to be even more relevant for teenagers. Also working with celebrities like Justin Bieber. Was a big step into that direction, and expect more things to come here. I don't want to say too much because I need to be careful there, but not too far out, we are going to launch a new beverage platform under our Quencher banner, and it's going to be the Popping Quenchers, Popping Quenchers. So expect some very exciting beverages to come to Canadian restaurants, basically in the next couple of days, and I'm sure especially the younger guests will enjoy them quite a bit.
So, Axel, I got a question for you. So, as you consider your new competition coming to the market, you do realize that one of your senior executives is named Duncan, right? Like, Duncan, do you have to step out of the room or something? Like, is there some kind of thing going on there? Like,
man, I've got like the playground when I was 5 years old. It's all coming back, man.
All right. Let me just ask this kind of roundabout question on competition. And generally, I find businesses are made better when new competition comes to the market, and they get a bit, lazy is one way of describing it when the competition is a bit sparse. So do you feel the same thing? Like when you see a new competitor, whoever it is, or an existing competitor launch a new product or a new initiative, do you think that makes Tim Hortons a better company?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Competition, the same in sports. I really like sports analogies, and so it just makes you better, right? It keeps you on your toes, and something that maybe helps to summarize the feeling that we have here is positive anxiety. So always in a positive way, being a little bit anxious is not a bad thing. So to always make sure that you know exactly what your competition is doing, that you know exactly what your guests expect from you, and then work against these things. So we have 600 teammates here in our Toronto office working very, very hard and deeply care for this wonderful brand to set it up for success together with our owners. And competition is definitely something that we pay a lot of attention to. We respect our competition, and maybe just a little anecdote, not a big anecdote, but since I'm a teenager, I'm collecting menus from all restaurants that you can imagine. So I actually discarded them the other day because I thought, okay, whatever, but I counted them. It was over 400 menus that I collected. And why did I do that? Because every restaurant operator has a lot of puts a lot of thinking into a menu, right? And so that mindset we still have to this day in Tim's, and even more so every day, to really pay attention to what they do. And usually when one of our main competitor launches a new product, my team and I, we are the first ones on day one to try those products and form an opinion.
Interesting. Now, one of the questions that kind of catalyzed or started the discussion between all of us that Sylvain and I talked about on The Food Professor was, is there room in the market? In the breakfast time, as you say, that's a big category. There's big players between you and the new entrants and other existing entrants. Is there still an opportunity to gain share? I mean, you've got so many restaurants and so many communities. Do you still see that there's general opportunity to gain share in that part of the important part, day part? Oh,
yeah, absolutely. So I think we can still gain share in all our day parts. The obvious one to grow more is the PM. We have been working on a PM strategy now for quite a while, and of course also the implementation of this strategy. So we have things like the Supreme Stack. We will have other, we just brought back the grilled cheese, which is a staple and, something that Canadian asked us to bring back. So we have a lot going on for the PM. We have a very, very clear strategy for our cold beverages, but then also for breakfast. The occasion itself, of course, is our biggest one. But when you think about how the preferences evolve in breakfast, so we need to make sure that we have the right English, so the right core offerings, and then more recent additions to our menu is scrambled eggs, not too long ago. So that is a wonderful addition. In case you haven't had our scrambled eggs yet, I can strongly recommend to try those. And then we also have egg bites. I just had 2 spinach egg bites this morning. It's wonderful, either just meal in itself or addition to your breakfast. So there is ways to definitely continue growing in the morning day part. And that also goes through beverages. So when you think about protein, protein is obviously more and more important for people. And you can add to any of our beverages, really. You can add protein milk, which is a nice addition as well. And people enjoy that also in the morning day part.
My next question is about food quality. So I've seen some criticism about food quality at Tim Hortons, but to be fair, I've seen criticism on food quality directed at other chains as well. And it seems to be intensifying. Do you think that expectations have actually changed compared to, say, 5 years ago?
Yeah, so I think the expectations, rightly so, from Canadians are very high when it comes to food and beverages, as it should. And it's really on us to deliver, and really make sure that we have the best quality products at a great value, of course. So one thing that we discussed earlier was our Back to Basics plan, really making sure that our core products are much better than they were in the history. And then it's also about ingredients itself. So we embarked on a journey a number of years ago to clean up our menu from artificial ingredients. So that's a very, very important topic for me personally, for my whole team. We are very, very passionate about this. And so there's no artificial colors, preservatives, or flavors in our food. And why is that the case? Because Canadians care. They don't want these ingredients in their food anymore. And I give you a practical example. So some of our sprinkles, they used to be very, very bright and shiny. That looks nice, but when it comes if you can only deliver that with artificial colors, then that's not the right thing to do. So when you now look into our showcase and you see our sprinkles, they are still very, very colorful. They look beautiful, but they are more on the pastel side now because we don't use artificial colors anymore. So these things really matter. And then, of course, it also is about execution. So when we launch new products, and of course also for our core products, but just taking the new products as an example, we do a lot of social listening from really second number one when we launch an item. Our owners pay a lot of attention in their restaurants, how the feedback is from guests. And then we also do research right away and send, basically, shoppers to restaurants to buy the product and see how it's doing. And so, whenever we have opportunities to improve, we do this right away because we want every guest, that's really our goal, to have a wonderful experience. And when we don't hit the mark, when we are not where we need to be, then we try to act as fast as we can to improve things. So it's a cycle. And before we launch products, it's also maybe interesting for you to know, we have a very clear innovation process. So every product that gets to the restaurants has been tested and validated with guests in the restaurants. Actually, we have test markets going on. Sometimes we see this in social media as well, that some guests notice new products in some parts of the country, and this goes viral. And this is how we find out if a product really has legs or not. And some products just don't make it because they're not good enough or have still opportunities to get improved.
So could you tell us what we should expect as the next major quality improvement at Tim Hortons?
Yeah, so you will understand that I cannot share too much. Having said that, there's definitely things that we are very excited about. The Popping Quenchers that I mentioned are coming to the restaurants now. Then we have a wonderful. I mean, I'm heavily biased, but
so when are they coming?
It's days, not months or weeks, and so that's
right in time for the end of school.
Yes, yes, I love that you point that out. That's very important. And because it's really for the younger demo, I mean, I love it too. I think it's one of the best beverages we have ever launched. But the younger demographic will have a lot of fun with that as well. And then we have a wonderful new sandwich coming up later in the month that I think I cannot speak about the details there yet, but it's one of the best sandwiches in my view that we have ever launched. And we have a very strong culinary team here. Chef Tellis, he is 6 years with us. He was also in some of our commercials. He has a strong pedigree, has worked for Michelin star restaurants. He takes this very, very seriously. So we all take a lot of pride in trying just to, do the best for Canadians. And this sandwich is also something that you can look forward to.
I mean, over the last few years, I can think of a few major campaigns you've run that have been quite successful with Justin Bieber, just recently with Reynolds. Has Tim Hortons become too reliant on limited time offers and promotions, do you think?
Oh, yeah. Also a good point. So thanks for that. So we definitely have a good balance today. We did not have a good balance around 2018, 2019. So during that time, we launched, I think it was around 60 limited time offers a year, which is more LTOs than weeks in the year, which is difficult, right? So while the concept might be interesting, but to really deliver an excellent product to every guest is very, very challenging to have a great experience, because you need to give restaurant teams also time to practice, to train. So we learned 60, wrong number, way too many. So then we focused on our core offerings, really making sure that our core is best in class, and we worked on that. And now I believe we have the right balance between limited time offers and our core offerings, and core offerings meaning we have platforms. We like to think in platforms, not products. So, for example, the Quenchers is a new platform we launched, and within this platform, then we have limited time offers to excite guests with wonderful new experiences. And that is the same for our breakfast sandwiches, for our lunch sandwiches, and also for our sides. And that was important for us to figure out the right balance of these things. And then, of course, sometimes we team up with the teammates that you mentioned. So Reynolds was a wonderful partnership. Then the one with Justin Bieber was fantastic. And expect more partnerships to come, but it always has to make sense. It cannot be gimmicky. So it always has to make sense from the experience that the food and beverages do, and it has to also be credible with the celebrity that we work with.
Right on. So you've both been very generous with your time and your insights. I got one quick question about technology, and then we're going to move to a rapid fire round. We got kind of a rapid fire questions, and we're going to give you one or two words to answer only, because we thought we'd end with some fun and some fun insights. Around technology, I just want to hone in on AI for a second. That could be an entire podcast in and of itself. But can we talk about AI in the drive-through? And I've seen many try different pilots, success or failure. It would seem that with a limited amount of information that you need to serve up, your menu isn't vast. You're not trying to predict the weather in Kansas. It would seem that would work. Are you guys thinking about AI? And is that your first go-to for a customer-facing version application or not? How are you thinking about this new technology?
The way to look at AI in the restaurants is about how to make the team member experience better, so it's easier for them to give even better service to guests. It's probably the way to think about it. People hear restaurant AI and your head goes straight to
pricing,
robots or automation, or to your point, pricing. I think our heads go to how do we make the experience for the team member better and easier so that even more of their attention can be giving a smile to the guest, making sure that the order is accurate when it's being handed over. I think that's important. I also think, there's routine tasks that AI is very good at. So labor scheduling is a really important thing in restaurants. You've got 13 people coming in for the morning rush Axel talked about from 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. And if 3 or 4 don't show up in the morning, there's a bit of a scramble to figure out who can you get on the phone. And if you're running that off your laptop in the office in Excel, and you need to then start calling folks, versus if you have something on your phone that who's available as a backup, and you have an AI tool that's kind of suggesting to you the order of who to call because they know what everyone's schedule is. There's lots of little things that can just make the overall experience so much better.
Let's get now into our rapid fire questions. I'm going to go first, and then Sylvain's got a few. And remember, 1 or 3 words only, just as a fun way to wrap. Tim Hortons in 2035.
Still proudly serving Canadians.
Biggest public misconception about Tim Hortons is?
Tim's not being Canadian.
A country Tim is not in that might be next globally.
I'm not going to tip our hand on that one.
Decline to answer.
All right. We're in a number of countries, and we don't want to give people a heads up when we come.
All right. Decline to answer. Most important thing Canada must do to thrive in the current and future economic environment.
Focus on what's in your control.
My turn. If you could change one thing about Tim Hortons' customer experience tomorrow without worrying about costs, what would it be and why?
Axel talked about us serving 4 million people a day. It's a huge responsibility. And even if we get it 99% right all of the time, that's still 40,000 people a day that didn't get it perfectly. If I could change one thing overnight, it would be to see, and again, it's back to the AI question, how do we give our team members every opportunity to get it right 100% of the time? Because that's what they want to do. It's why they come to work in the morning.
Next question. What product do you wish Tim Hortons had never discontinued?
It's never too late to bring things back. So that's something.
They often do come back.
I generally cannot think of a product there at the moment, but we know for sure what Canadians would like to have back, grilled cheese being one of them, and we brought back our retro donuts not too long ago. So it was great feedback from our guests to bring back things like the walnut crunch and the Dutchie. So we have open ears for listening and more to come.
Last question for me. What's the one metric you watch every single day?
Traffic. How many guests do we have per restaurant? Because that ultimately shows, if we have more or less guests. And so that's a very important metric together with sales and restaurant level profitability, so that our owners, have the money that they need to reinvest into the business. And those are the things that we look at.
Okay, right. Listen, thank you very much. This has been really interesting and frankly educational. To be honest, it's great to have you both on the Food Professor podcast. Axel, Duncan, thank you so much for your precious time, and hope to meet you in person soon.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us. And if you ever like to come to the office when you're in Toronto, we are happy to have you here and show you our test kitchen and how we work here every day.
Absolutely. You take care.
Super. Thank you.
I wanted to kind of relate it in a weird way. There's a house for sale, not too far from me, actually. Colonel Sanders from Kentucky Fried Chicken's house is for sale in Mississauga because he lived here, the founder of KFC, now known as KFC. It's true.
I didn't know that.
Pictures of him on the front lawn.
Colonel Sanders?
The Colonel Sanders. So if anyone's listening, or if you would like to live in Colonel Sanders' house, it's here for sale. We'd be neighbors practically in the great city of Mississauga. So there you go.
Wow. What's the asking price?
It's 1.1 million. Like, it's not a big mansion or anything. It's like modest. A little. In
you fact, know what? I could see you as Colonel Sanders.
There you go. I got the goat. Any more gray, and you're right. I'm not too far from
exactly. I think you actually put some white on yourself. You look like Colonel Sanders.
Well, there we go. So if all else fails in the podcasting universe, I can become one of those guys that shows up at parties dressed like Colonel Sanders at kids' parties or something. Career ahead of me. All right,
exactly.
That's it for this episode. We got a couple more left in the season, and then we're going to wrap at the end of this month. Actually, and
can't believe it. Season 6 almost over.
I mean, this is episode 40, so we're almost done this season. But dear listeners, all summer we have fresh baked content that we recorded with some fascinating people at Seattle. So all summer you won't hear Sylvain and I, but you hear lots of great content from lots of great people. Well, you will hear us. We just won't be talking about the events of the week, but we'll be back in late August. Anyway, that's it for the show. Safe travels, everybody.
Take care.